everything. Because Joe Rogan, we don't have to make videos. You'll never come across something like this. Willing to die, hoping that you'll choke me out. I pray to God, because that's a dream come true. It feels good.
Back in the old tales, people sold their souls to the devil for power, knowledge, or eternal youth. But nowadays, influencers like the Liver King are making the same deadly trade, only the price just keeps climbing higher and higher. Think of it as a modern-day Faustian deal, where chasing fleeting fame can wipe out everything you've built. And the Liver King, he just crossed the line into chaos. Arrested in Austin, Texas, he's now facing charges for terroristic threats against none other than Joe Rogan, proving that clout chasing can spiral straight into madness. If you ran into this man on the streets today, you'd probably cross to the other side and avoid even a glance. Liver King now looks like a straight-up deranged homeless guy. In just a few years, he's aged like a nightmare. His family gone, his relevance dead, his audience hating him with a passion. Nobody wants anything to do with him anymore. The only thing that even reminded people of his fame was his mugshot, the same one that launched him into the spotlight. And it gets worse. He's allegedly been battling a hardcore drug addiction, his face marked by scars, and has served time behind bars. Once out, he reportedly unleashed all that rage on his own dog. Videos of his arrest went viral, and people in the comments mercilessly roasted him, calling him the Liver Failure King, or comparing him to Dave Portnoy if he did meth reviews. But how does someone fall this hard in just a few years? He was once reportedly worth millions. Back in 2022, he was a fitness and wellness giant, dominating the scene. And now, he's a cautionary tale of fame gone horribly wrong. If he hadn't completely spiraled, maybe he could have actually landed a spot on Joe Rogan's podcast. But now, all that's left is him dropping endless videos, challenging Joe to a fight over and over. He even reportedly made the trip to Austin, chasing either a real showdown or just chasing that sweet, fleeting 15 minutes of fame one more time.
Just pulling up to the capital of Texas. Guess what? You're dead, bitch. You're dead. We'll book into it with love, but we'll make a mosh pit in the middle. We'll tear each other apart. I haven't slept. I've been waiting to get here. Now we're here.
It's desperation turned public spectacle, and it's hard to look away. He went off on Instagram, firing off wild claims at a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt who clearly didn't want anything to do with this strange, erratic guy. People were saying he came off as annoying, unstable, and honestly, mentally unhinged. It escalated so much that detectives had to reach out to Joe Rogan himself, who admitted the post felt threatening, ultimately leading to the arrest warrant we now have for the Liver King. One Instagram video shows his final moments before being taken in, pacing a hotel room, rambling about jail time and a fight. I only have a couple of minutes before I'm being detained in the greatest state in the world. Greatest state. But underneath all the chaos, there's a way darker story unfolding, and Liver King might just be the latest casualty of the fame machine. Here's the deal. His real name is Brian Johnson, and he started out as just a wealthy, muscular guy in Texas, running a supplement business and loving ancestral living. Then he saw it, how influencers were raking in millions, especially guys like Joe Rogan, preaching masculinity and health. Fame wasn't just influence, it was a gold mine. And Brian, he knew exactly what he needed, a total rebrand. That's when the Liver King was born, and everything changed. To grab attention, he went all in, doing insane stunts on camera, raw organs, liver, testicles, bone marrow, you name it. And he wrapped it all in this extreme primal message. Modern life is crushing men, and the only way to reclaim strength, masculinity, and vitality is to reject comfort and embrace the ancestral way. His truth, mixed with his ripped physique and carnivore obsession.
Joe Rogan, bro, just fucking invite me on. Release me of all these other things, man. If I could just formally get an invitation onto Joe Rogan podcast, and I'll release myself of leaving tomorrow. But
he created a character so over the top, it became magnetic. TikTok and Instagram blew up overnight. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Headlines, podcasts, viral videos, everyone talking about the guy who literally lived by eating raw organs. It was genius branding, until the fame came with a cost nobody saw coming. Out of nowhere, he was everywhere, hitting podcasts, doing pull-ups with chains, biting into raw animal organs, and of course, hawking his supplements like they were magic potions to turn anyone into a king. And through it all, he claimed to be 100% natural. That was the genius move, because if people believed he was natural, they'd buy every word he said. If he could get ripped and strong just by eating liver and doing these insane workouts, it made his supplements seem like the ultimate shortcut to power. It wasn't just a business strategy, it was a credibility booster, especially for young men desperate for guidance, meaning, or some blueprint for masculinity. And man, did it work. His brand reportedly pulled in over $100 million in a single year. The wild thing, looking back, he didn't even seem that deranged at first. He was just playing the game the internet demands. Go extreme or go unnoticed. The formula for viral fame online is brutal but predictable. You have to perform bigger, louder, weirder, and more over the top than anyone else. And for a while, the Liver King mastered it, becoming the ultimate online spectacle, living proof of just how far a calculated persona can take you before it all unravels. To make it big online, you have to go over the top, exaggerate everything, and craft an alter ego that swallows up your real self. But here's the danger. When the line between you and your persona starts to vanish, madness creeps in. When the character outgrows the human behind it, people burn out. Sometimes they step back, but often they completely lose touch with reality. We've seen it countless times. In fact, we just made a video last week showing exactly how fame can destroy lives. Think about Britney Spears or Michael Jackson. Most of the time, they weren't insane to begin with. Fame pushed them there. The machine demands extremes, stripping away your identity until you're barely recognizable, mentally or physically. Liver King, he went through the same grind. His body was pumped full of human growth hormones, yet he insisted it was all from ancestral living. And it worked. He became a multimillionaire, a fitness icon, lecturing the world on discipline, family, and self-mastery. His rise seemed unstoppable, putting him on a clear path to sitting down next to Joe Rogan on a podcast. He had everything he dreamed of: wealth, fame, influence. But the one thing he wanted still eluded him: that podcast invite.
Way you can look like that in your 40s. I mean, he's preposterously jacked. Now that we know that he's full of shit, we're talking about the Liver King, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. It's the guy who calls himself the Liver King, and he's this guy who walks around everywhere with no shirt on. I've seen him in Vegas with no shirt on, big bushy beard, super jacked. And he was telling people that the way he gets that way is by sunning his balls. He literally lays down with his asshole staring at the sun and eats raw liver and just lifts like a maniac. Please show me some preposterous Liver King physiology.
It was strange, too, because he'd already appeared on all of Joe's friends' shows. Yet no Rogan episode. "Welcome to Texas, Joe Rogan. That's how friendly we are," he shouts, right before being handcuffed and escorted to a police car. Sure, he got another 15 minutes of fame from his mugshot, but it came at the absolute cost of everything else. Looking back at the Liver King's rise, his weird personality, his obvious lies, and the bizarre antics that made him famous, it's almost surreal how fast it all crumbled into chaos. He was eating up Joe Rogan's audience like a parasite, and he knew Joe had to have seen his content somewhere. But why wasn't he reaching out? Joe never seemed interested in talking to him. Rumors even swirled that the Liver King had shown up at a UFC event, trying to buy his way into a meeting just to convince Joe to do a podcast with him. But apparently, Joe was horrified, immediately sensing something off about the guy, and later even called him mentally ill. Meanwhile, the Liver King pretended like he didn't care what Rogan thought, but deep down, it was eating him alive. This obsession tore at his identity and fed every insecurity he had. He had crafted this primal alpha male persona, specifically designed to impress Rogan's audience, which meant that, absurd as it sounds, his entire sense of purpose depended on Joe's approval. It became painfully obvious that for the Liver King, the modern-day Faustian bargain was real, trading his dignity, his individuality, and his very humanity for fleeting bursts of fame. And yet, no matter how extreme he went, it never gave him what he truly wanted. All it offered was temporary attention, always demanding a higher price. But he couldn't stop. Every day he pushed himself and everyone around him to the edge, testing how far he could go. Being noticed mattered more than being respected. Going viral felt worth more than any cost, no matter the sacrifice. So he kept escalating, taking things to insane extremes. He relentlessly chased Joe Rogan for a podcast. "Joe Rogan, bro, just invite me on. Release me of all these other things. If I could just get a formal invite onto the podcast, I'll release myself tomorrow." Meanwhile, His body ballooned to inhuman proportions, swollen from repeated hormone use, and the lies piled up higher and higher. Eventually, everything collapsed. His viral persona, his so-called ancestral living brand, it was all a lie, exposed for the world to see. Suddenly, the internet exploded. The Liver King was a fraud, deceiving millions to chase clout and rake in cash. Private messages leaked, showing him spending over $11,000 a month on steroids and human growth hormones. His entire image, his identity, was shattered. Publicly humiliated, he had no choice but to admit the truth. And of all people, Joe Rogan, alongside Derek from More Plates, More Dates, the titan of the fitness world, called him out mercilessly, cementing the fall of a man who had once seemed untouchable. Because he built a persona so extreme, so performative, it completely devoured the person underneath. There was nothing left of the real Brian Johnson. The Liver King tried to rebrand, kept posting, kept grinding in the gym, kept selling supplements, but every video got fewer views. The internet had moved on. He was now just a nobody. And during this time, his appearance started to change too. He looked older, worn down, depressed, manic even. Rumors of health issues swirled, and his life went quieter, until eventually, nobody cared anymore. He became just a weirdo. Even the family that once starred in his content disappeared. Podcast invites vanished. Brands cut ties, cultural relevance, gone. For someone whose entire life was built on fame, it's basically death. By 2024, mentions of him were rare outside of old viral videos. This was likely the start of his full spiral. The pacing hotel room, the live stream meltdown, the mug shot plastered online, and ultimately his hero calling the police on him. But maybe Liver King isn't just another clout chaser gone mad. Maybe he's a product of the fame industrial complex. The lesson behind every viral persona is a real person making real choices, paying a real price. The spotlight is seductive, but at what cost? If you found this story wild, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the rise and fall of the internet's most infamous figures.